Believe me, tearing children from the arms of their mother and their father is not the right decision. It has got to stop.
More than 2,000 children have been separated from their families in recent weeks. The Trump administration is facing increased backlash for its zero-tolerance border policy.
A deadly earthquake with a magnitude 6.1 strikes Japan. Hundreds injured, damage assessments taking place as we speak.
An NBC News special report how some of America's most elite charter schools are excluding minorities.
A huge upset and excitement across the soccer universe as 5 of the 6 top World Cup teams remain winless.
And it was an incredible record-breaking Father's Day weekend at the box office. Early Today starts right now. Good morning. I'm Danny Cevallos in for Philip Mina.
Great to be with you. I'm Francis Rivera. We begin this morning with a political flashpoint lighting up Washington and much of the country. The outcry over the Trump administration's immigration policies reach a fever pitch, notably the separation of undocumented families at the southern border. Protests took place coast to coast, and supporters gathered to demonstrate what they deem inhuman tactics by the Trump administration.
That as they get a political titan on their side, with former First Lady Laura Bush unleashing a scathing column overnight, saying separating children from their parents, quote, breaks my heart, calling the policy cruel and immoral as she called for immediate change. And she's not the only one coming out against it. NBC's Kelly O'Donnell has more on the political backlash hitting the administration.
Outrage outside a detention center in New Jersey. Protesters railed against the Trump administration action that separates children from parents accused of violating immigration laws.
Making the noise. It was us as the people.
Inside, Democratic members of Congress crammed into the lobby for what they called an unannounced inspection, but cameras could not follow.
Believe me, tearing children from the arms of their mother and their father is not the right decision. It has got to stop.
It's Father's Day, damn it. And you have a right to talk to your children, and you don't even know where your children are.
The plight of children prompted a rare move by the First Lady, who weighed in with a statement from her office. Mrs. Trump hates to see children separated from their families and hopes both sides of the aisle can finally come together to achieve successful immigration reform. Melania Trump carefully presented a softer tone, saying we must be a country that governs with heart, echoed by top advisor Kellyanne Conway.
As a mother, as a Catholic, as somebody who's got a conscience, I will tell you that nobody likes this policy. You saw the president on camera, that he wants this to end.
But no suggestion the president would reevaluate the legal interpretation that splits families. In fact, former Trump strategist and immigration hardliner Steve Bannon called this a line in the sand.
The president is enforcing a zero-tolerance policy. We've got to get security on the southern border. He has not been given his wall, and I believe he's going to enforce this policy.
Today, 2 Republican senators who have the responsibility for negotiating how much Congress might spend on the president's border wall will meet with him here at the White House. There is some division among Republicans about what to do about the crisis involving children. 2 moderate Republicans are demanding answers from the administration about the treatment of families seeking lawful political asylum. Therefore, they're not violating immigration laws. And in some cases, they've been separated too. Danny?
Kelly, thank you for that.
In New Jersey over the weekend, more than 20 people were injured when gunfire erupted at an all-night arts and music festival in Trenton. Terrified revelers were captured on video scrambling for cover. The shooting came just days after the governor moved to strengthen the state's gun laws, but he said more must be done.
Congress has to act. This is yet another reminder.
NBC's Dan Shenneman has the details.
The shooting started just before 3 a.m. at a crowded arts festival.
And then all of a sudden, about 10 shots rang out slightly inside of the door. It was like pow, 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 pow.
Police estimate as many as 1,000 people were in the area when the shooting started. More than 20 people were hurt. 17 of them suffered gunshot wounds.
The preliminary investigation reveals that multiple individuals attending the Art All Night event opened fire within the venue. And to this date and time, multiple weapons have been recovered.
Investigators say one suspect, Tahij Wells, was killed. He was just released from prison. Another suspect, 23-year-old Amir Armstrong, is hospitalized and facing a weapons charge.
The shooting appears to be related to several gangs having neighborhood gangs from here in the city of Trenton having a dispute at the venue.
This all happened at a popular fundraiser for local artists.
Art all night is has become quite a tradition, quite a touchstone here in Trenton, and it's just awful that it was broken up like this so awfully in the middle of the night.
The investigation is ongoing, and Trenton becomes the latest community to face tragedy. Dan Sheneman, NBC News.
At least 3 people have died and dozens have been injured after a powerful earthquake shook the city of Osaka, Japan, early this morning. Japan's meteorological agency is calling it a 6.1 magnitude quake, one of the strongest of its kind on Japan's scale. From 0 to 7. There were reports of structural damage, including building collapses, damaged pipes, and scattered fires right in the middle of the city's rush hour. Government officials reported the deaths of 2 elderly men and a young child from falling debris. No tsunami warning has been issued.
Police in Washington are investigating a chaotic shooting at a Walmart. A suspect was shot and killed and 2 others were hurt during a series of carjackings. Witnesses inside the store say they were in line when suddenly gunfire broke out. Chaos followed as people tried to run out of the store. According to police, the gunman was firing his weapon, trying to jack a car when he was fatally shot by a bystander. One victim was airlifted to a hospital. Their condition is unknown. A second was being treated. Officers are looking into 4 other incidents that may be connected.
After missing the Masters because of injury, Brooks Koepka battled back to become the first repeat winner at the U.S. Open in almost 30 years. After a 4-way tie going into the final round, Koepka found himself down early to Daniel Berger and Tony Finau. Berger ended up finishing in 6th place at 6 over, while Finau finished in 5th place and short over $200,000 after a double bogey on the par 4 dropped him out of the top 3. World number 1 Dustin Johnson started the day out strong, looking to take this year's title, but several missed short putts down the stretch put him in 3rd place at 3 over. Making way for Koepka to cruise to the finish line, he taps in a bogey to finish at +1 and win this year's title.
Thousands of miles away in Russia, some intense soccer action is shaking the earth, literally. Seismic readers in Mexico picked up a small earthquake on the Richter scale. It followed a lone goal by Hirving Lozano that lifted his team over the defending champs and a current favorite, Germany. Well, the match set a surge around the globe, making Germany the 3rd defending champion to lose in the opening round. After the mega upset, 5 of the top 6 teams are now winless going into the 2nd round. This includes Argentina and their superstar Lionel Messi. And playing in the World Cup for the first time, Iceland tied the soccer powerhouse 1-1. They denied Messi a game-winning penalty kick down the stretch. Play continues today at 8 a.m. Eastern.
Let's go now to NBC meteorologist Bill Cairns with a look at your forecast. Bill?
Morning and welcome, Danny. Francis, weekend got warmer, right? I told you it would, and it did. And the heat's still with everyone now from the Midwest, Ohio Valley, right through the Northeast. 61 million people either under heat advisories, which is the majority of people. And then there's even a few excessive heat warnings, Chicago and St. Louis included. So how hot will today be when we add in the humidity with the sizzling heat indexes? The worst of it, St. Louis, 103. Nashville, 99. 102 in Cleveland is hot for you. In Charlotte, about 101. The good news is it will get a little bit cooler as we go through Tuesday in those areas as the heat gets pushed a little bit to the south. But Raleigh, oof, that's rough. That's a look at the big weather story of the day. Now here's a closer look at your day ahead. Well, you can see where the cold front has cooled you off in Minnesota, but there's a lot of thunderstorms and a lot of rain this morning through Wisconsin, southern Minnesota. And late today, there'll be some strong thunderstorms in areas of northern New England. So it's a hot day, and then the thunderstorms cool you off. And I'll give you an update on the severe weather threat coming up.
All right, at that time of year.
Sounds good. It was definitely an incredible weekend. The sequel to the superhero flick crushed the box office, earning $180 million domestically, making it the best launch for any animated film in history and the 8th biggest opening of all time.
And The Women of Ocean's 8 took the 2nd spot on the list. It earned around $19.5 million, bringing its domestic total to over $79 million. And to round out the top 3, the film Tag, that's a true story about a group of adult men who continue their decades-long game of tag, snagged more than $14 million in its opening weekend. You're watching Early Today on a Monday morning.
Now to an NBC News special report. There are more than 7,000 charter schools in America. They are often meant to give opportunities to traditionally disadvantaged kids. But an eye-opening report finds hundreds of public charter schools are disproportionately white compared with other schools in the same districts. NBC News chief education correspondent Rahima Ellis has the details.
Reynolds Lake Oconee in Greene County, Georgia, with its stunning man-made lake, lush golf courses, and multi-million-dollar homes, marketed to home buyers as a better kind of life.
School was the key point that allowed us to move down here.
With a better kind of school.
We are Lake Oconee Academy.
Lake Oconee Academy has an A rating from the state, a music lab with 25 pianos, 17 AP classes. It's a public charter school started by the property developer in part with private money, but today funded by taxpayers and free to attend.
I don't know who would not want their children there if they're going to have these opportunities.
Sandra Lawson, whose children were in a low-performing school, was hoping they'd win a spot in the charter lottery, but they didn't. And she believes they never really stood a chance.
Are you suggesting there might have been some deliberate effort to prevent your children from attending that school?
Or children like my children, African American children.
Lake Oconee Academy told NBC the school is public, free, and open to all students in the county. But the facts show 73% of the student body is white, while, for example, just 14% of students are white at the district's traditional public high school.
So this is a public school using public funding, but by its very design, would not serve most of this community.
This is the original design. When the academy was founded, 80% of the seats were allocated for this section of the county, mainly the gated communities with wealthy residents by the lake.
Georgia is one of these states where a charter school can essentially take a map and draw where they want to serve.
3 years ago, the zoning was eliminated, but priority is still given to kids with siblings at the school and children of faculty, also predominantly white, leaving few openings. However, minority students have increased each year, and the charter school says, we have taken meaningful steps to focus our outreach and enrollment efforts on families that are traditionally considered educationally disadvantaged. We are also committed to increasing the diversity of our faculty, staff, and board members. But the expectation for families stuck in underachieving schools is that helping diverse, disadvantaged students should not be an afterthought. It's the primary reason why many charter schools are created in the first place. And yet, a joint investigation by the education news organization, the Hechinger Report, and the Investigative Fund finds more than 700 charter schools nationwide have a student body that is whiter than any of the traditional public schools in the same district.
Black parents here will say that it does not feel like an accident.
The reasons vary. Sometimes it can be about getting to and from school. For example, Lake Oconee Academy is the only public school in the district that does not provide busing. And in a rural county, there is no public transportation to the school.
This school and these types of schools are not the norm. The charter school movement is not known as a movement that's serving predominantly white students.
We wanted to talk to the real estate executive who petitioned to create the Greene County Charter School. Is Mr. Neal not in today?
No, ma'am, he's not here today.
But Raven Neal did not return our multiple calls. Sandra Lawson has given up trying to get her children into the academy.
But hopefully, for the next parent that comes along, they're truly given a fair opportunity.
Rather than seeing the spirit of charter schools violated, she says, by giving advantages to kids who already have a wealth of them. Rahima Ellis, NBC News, Greensboro, Georgia.
Here we go.
One is cool, two's even cooler. After 10 weeks of preparation, 2 of those cooling towers over 400 feet tall were imploded at the St. Johns River power plant in Jacksonville, Florida. Using 1,500 pounds of dynamite, the towers came down in less than 12 seconds. Officials say this is the first step in decommissioning the coal-fired electric plant.
A universal problem for lots of parents, especially with these long summer days, getting kids to go to bed on time and getting them up in the morning. And to that, the teens who, like many of us, have a really hard time putting those cell phones away. But now, a new study shows why enforcing bedtime rules may be critical for your child's health. Katie Beck explains.
Time to wake up, baby girl.
Waking up the kids is a struggle most mornings.
Time to wake up.
Mother of 3, Elizabeth Turley says it's especially tough for her 15-year-old Alyssa. On average, she gets just 5 hours of sleep a night.
Would you say that among your friends, that's pretty common, 5-6 hours?
Yes, maybe even less.
Because most of them are doing this.
But a new study says sleep-deprived adolescents and teens shouldn't shrug off their sluggish symptoms. Now linking a lack of sleep to higher odds for heart disease, high blood pressure, and obesity.
Sleep is just as important as nutrition and physical activity in predicting our cardiovascular health.
The study in the journal Pediatrics monitored the kids' sleep patterns through an ActiWatch, tracking the amount of sleep and the quality of the rest. 9 hours of sleep is the minimum recommended for kids 11 to 13 years old, 8 hours for those 14 to 17. Most in the study weren't getting what they should.
I'm so tired from not getting enough sleep.
Doctors tell parents to improve their children's sleep, set a consistent bedtime, cut the caffeine before bed, and no screens in the bedroom. Turley says she already enforces many of these rules, but after this study, she has reason to set more.
You want them to live a longer life.
And sleep is a key to that. Katie Beck, NBC News, Riverside, California.
No, and that might be the toughest part, is getting those kids to hand over the devices, especially right before bedtime.
Yeah, I'm a hypocrite. I'm looking at my device too.
We all do it. That's the toughest part. All right, still ahead, Bill Cairns will have a look at the forecast for the week ahead, including some storms that are brewing on the horizon.
Welcome back. Watching the chance for some strong storms today in areas of northern New England. Hottest day of the summer in most areas of the mid-Atlantic and into southern portions of New England. We have to watch Texas, too, over the next 2 days. Some heavy rain is going to develop with some tropical kind of connections, and that could lead to just a minor flooding problems. Hopefully nothing too bad. And you notice those storms are where that cold front is there on Wednesday. By the time we get to Friday, guys, things are a little quieter in areas in the Northeast.
Good. Bill, thank you. Still ahead, a week in politics that might give you news whiplash.
The North Korean summit.
A jailed former campaign chairman.
The Justice Department's IG report, a top aide's heart attack.
Michael Cohen's vanished legal team, Dennis Rodman. Any of these ring a bell? Well, they were all major headlines made last week. And in case you, like us, are still reeling from news whiplash, and our friends over at MSNBC's KCDC have a great recap for you on the week that was.
You are looking live now at Kim Jong-un. Dennis Rodman, former NBA star, has just touched down.
Well, it's exciting to be a part of it.
Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un are still meeting.
Mr. President, how's it going so far, sir? Very good. What do you think? Very, very good.
This is complete denuclearization of North Korea.
The Trump administration now planning to build tent cities to shelter migrant children. 5 states holding midterm primaries tonight.
Congressman Sanford is currently trailing.
Scott Pruitt had a top aide contact Republican donors to help his wife land a job.
Michael Cohen expects to be arrested pretty soon.
Michael Cohen splitting with his own legal team. Some breaking news for you. The New York Attorney General is suing President Trump and 3 of his children.
Breaking news about that Justice Department Inspector General's report.
Comey made a serious error of judgment.
2,000 children being taken from their parents over a 6-week period.
Here's Donald Trump outside the White House.
He speaks and his people sit up at attention. I want my people to do the same.
Trump's former campaign chief is in jail.
Did I not say there was going to be a ton of news this week?
And guess what? It's Monday. That means a ton more news coming this week as well, I'm sure.
Hit the reset button.
Yeah.
It's been called the slow car crash you couldn't take your eyes off of when late night host Jimmy Kimmel faced off against Senator Ted Cruz in a grueling 2-hour game of one-on-one basketball. The ongoing feud began when Kimmel compared the Republican senator to a blobfish, with Cruz ultimately challenging the comedian to a game, suggesting the loser give $5,000 to a charity of the winner's choice. After weeks of back-and-forth taunting, the two amateurs went head-to-head this weekend at Texas Southern University, with Cruz coming out on top with a final score of 11-9. But the real winners were Texas Children's Hospital and Generation One, Kimmel and Cruz's respective charities, which both received donations.
And maybe we can get this thing going back and forth even more for more money to be given to those charities.
I have to admit, I had Kimmel and the points. I lost big. I'm Danny Cevallos, in for Philip.
And I'm Frances Rivera. Thanks for watching Early Today.
Father's Day, damn it. And you have a right to talk to your children, and you don't even know where your children are.
The battle over splitting families has the First Lady weighing in as the president faces what might be his toughest domestic challenge yet.
New details surrounding a late-night New Jersey shooting at an arts festival.
It was like pow, 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 pow. And there was 2 or 3 people that went down right 20 feet from me.
A deadly earthquake strikes Japan, hundreds injured and the death toll rising. Late details just ahead.
Then to a weekend of World Cup soccer excitement and a repeat at the windy and very challenging U.S. Open.
And a huge surprise from Beyonce and husband Jay-Z also dropped 2. Early Today starts right now.
Good morning. I'm Danny Cevallos, in for Philip.
Good to be with you. I'm Frances Rivera. In just a few hours, Democrats led by Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi will converge onto the controversial detainment facility in Brownsville, Texas, to protest the Trump administration's zero-tolerance policy, separating families at the U.S.-Mexico border.
Just as Republicans head to the White House for a strategy session with the commander-in-chief, as the backlash over the current state of affairs reaches a fever pitch. NBC's Jacob Sabarov is at the largest immigration processing center in the U.S. Jacob?
Danny, this is not a new facility. In fact, it's been here under multiple administrations. It is at the epicenter of the Trump administration's family separation policy. In fact, more children are being taken from their families inside this building than anywhere else along the entire southern border. That is because directly of the Trump administration policy called zero tolerance. For the first time ever, we were allowed inside without cameras, but this is what we saw.
The facility serves as an intake for the busiest sector of the southern border. It's the biggest of its kind in the country. Agents patrolling 316 river miles of the dividing line between the U.S. and Mexico bring most people they pick up back here for processing, 24 hours a day. There are 77,000 square feet of space under the roof, air-conditioned to a cool 72 degrees. Inside, people are sorted based on their age, gender, and family status. 4 pods, as they call them. One for girls 17 and under, another for boys 17 and under. And then there are the families. Moms with kids and fathers with kids make up the final 2 groups.
Y'all are going to be taken out to the CPC?
When we walked in the door, more than 1,100 people were inside. 525 family members and nearly 200 kids without adults.
The administration's fought back against this idea that children are kept in cages in some of these detention facilities. But here at the Border Patrol station, that is exactly what we saw. Mylar blankets, the type you see runners have after marathons, mattresses on the floor. They're supposed to be out of here after 72 hours, but increasingly people are being detained for longer than that as this policy works its way to get sorted out. The Border Patrol tells us themselves that they're overwhelmed at this point. Danny?
Jacob, thank you.
For more on the political backlash facing the Trump administration this morning, let's go to NBC's Tracy Potts. She's on Capitol Hill. Hi, Tracy. Morning.
Hi there, Francis. Good morning. So first of all, let's talk about the protests. This is spilling over into the streets all over the country. These protests timed with Father's Day, with advocates who say these families should be able to see their children. We're seeing them all over the country now, nearly 2,000 children who've been separated from their families, even tent cities being set up to house these children, unlike the centers that we've seen before. And here in Washington, Republican pushback to the president's separation policy, the zero tolerance policy, from high-powered Republicans, including House Speaker Paul Ryan, Lindsey Graham, who says that the president could stop this with one phone call. We're also now hearing from First Ladies Melania Trump, her office revealing a statement here where saying that Mrs. Trump hates to see children separated from their families, but adding that this needs to be a country that follows all laws, but a country that also governs with heart. And a scathing op-ed from former First Lady Laura Bush, where she says that this policy is breaking her heart, it's cruel, and it's immoral. President Trump will meet with Republicans on Capitol Hill tomorrow. Francis?
All right, Tracy Potts for us. Tracy, thanks.
At least 3 people have died and dozens have been injured after a powerful earthquake shook the city of Osaka, Japan, early this morning. Japan's meteorological agency is calling it a 6.1 magnitude quake, one of the strongest of its kind on Japan's scale, which runs from 0 to 7. There were reports of structural damage, including building collapses, damaged pipes, and scattered fires, all during the city's rush hour. Government officials reported the deaths of 2 elderly men and a young child from falling debris. No tsunami warning has been issued.
In the wake of Sunday's shooting at an arts and music festival in Trenton, New Jersey, the city's mayor vows the violence won't shut down the annual event that's meant to unite his community.
Our history, our art, and our culture is strong here, and we are strong people, and we can't let 1 or 2 senseless individuals create an atmosphere for us where we can't enjoy the great things of this city.
Police believe the shooting was sparked by local gangs. One of the suspects involved was fatally shot. Authorities say he had just been released from prison for a homicide-related charge. NBC's Blake McCoy tells us more.
A gunfight in Trenton, New Jersey, sending bullets flying and people running.
It was like pow, 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 pow. There was 2 or 3 people that went down right 20 feet from me.
Anybody hit? Anybody hit over here?
Chaos in the moments after as the panicked crowd, some injured, poured into the street. The violence shattering a 24-hour Art All Night festival meant to bring the community together. This photo taken hours before. 17 people were shot, including Irvin Higginbotham, hit 4 times in the leg.
The kids out here, these guns and stuff, it's no good. Put the guns up, go about your life, get an education.
Police have recovered multiple guns and believe it was a gang-related dispute. One suspected shooter is dead, 2 others hospitalized. This is a community that knows violence all too well.
To me, it's like a normal thing. It's like, is it ever going to end? I don't know.
The violence, you say, has become normal here?
Yeah.
That's sad.
Shouldn't have to be that way.
Trenton's mayor pleading for peace, not just here, but across the country.
All shootings, whether large or small, are a crisis. This isn't just a random act of violence. This is a public health issue.
I spoke with event organizers who say they are deeply saddened but not deterred, more motivated now than ever to bring this community together. Francis?
All right, Blake, thank you.
An Australian tow truck company captured this disturbing video of a pickup truck driver losing control of his vehicle. You can see the truck goes flying through the air before landing on top of 3 other cars. A 23-year-old man was arrested and tested for illegal substances. So far, 2 people were hospitalized after the incident. Fortunately, there were no fatalities or life-threatening injuries.
All right, get ready for trouble here with little guy. Kansas City parents are looking at a $132,000 bill after their son accidentally knocked over that sculpture on display. Well, here's the backstory. The 5-year-old went up to hug the glass art while attending a reception with a family. As you can see there, the sculpture fell and toppled right on top of him. Well, that caused damage to the back of the figure, which the artist says took over 2 years to complete. We understand that the little boy is okay, and the mom says accidents happen, but she cannot pay the damages the insurance company is looking to get.
Painful.
That is an expensive wedding gift, I would say.
That is not the softball through the window in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
a little different. All right, now to NBC meteorologist Bill Cairns with a look at your forecast. Bill?
Good Monday morning. Hope everyone had a wonderful Father's Day. And as we go throughout the day today, it's going to be hot, and we're already tracking storms that will continue this afternoon. Numerous areas getting heavy rain from Minneapolis over through Green Bay. And this later today will shift into areas of the southern Great Lakes, and then a little area of severe weather is possible. 2.7 million people at risk of strong to afternoon storms. Most areas of northern New England will see those storms. And how about the heat numbers today? 61 million people under excessive heat advisories or heat warnings. A lot of the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and now the Northeast. That's a look at the big weather story of the day. Now here's a closer look at the day ahead. Well, you can see where the heat divide line is. Omaha 95, and then just to the north, Sioux Falls only 77. So that's where we're getting our clash of our air masses. That's where we have the showers and storms. Chicago, you're a hot day, and you'll cool off this afternoon with some storms. We'll take a look at some of those heat numbers coming up. It's going to be oppressive.
Oh, okay. Bill, thank you.
Gal Gadot gave anxious fans a first look at her costume in the Wonder Woman sequel. The actress shared this photo on Twitter with the caption, "She's back." The costume looks similar to her previous Wonder Woman outfit, but it's brighter and shinier than previous versions, especially when compared to what she wore in Batman v Superman when her character was first introduced. Wonder Woman 1984 hits theaters in November 2019.
Still ahead, new revelations surrounding one of the president's key advisors. And Beyonce and Jay-Z dropped a huge surprise on fans over the weekend. But that's not all.
This morning, Roger Stone, a longtime confidant and informal advisor to the Trump 2016 campaign, now admits he met with a Russian national in May of 2016. With Stone telling Congress via a letter first obtained by the Washington Post, he was offered damaging information about Hillary Clinton, all for the low, low price of $2 million. Overnight, Stone confirmed the news to NBC, telling our national security reporter, Ken Delanian, that nothing ever came of the meeting, saying, quote, "I flatly rejected his proposal in what was a 20-minute meeting." And while Stone did not previously disclose the meeting to congressional investigators, the Post is reporting the sit-down is of interest to special counsel Robert Mueller. But Stone tells NBC he, quote, "never mentioned the meeting to Trump or to the Trump campaign because the idea was so ludicrous," adding, "it was so ridiculous that I forgot about the approach."
For the first time in almost 30 years, there is a back-to-back U.S. Open champion at the Shinnecock Hills Golf Course, and it goes by the name of Brooks Koepka. Well, after a four-way tie going into the final round, Koepka found himself down early to Daniel Berger and Tony Finau. Berger ended up finishing in sixth place at 6 over. Finau finished in fifth place and short over $200,000 after a double bogey on the par 4 dropped him out of the top 3. World number 1, Dustin Johnson, started the day out strong, looking to take this year's title, but several missed short putts down the stretch put him in third place at 3 over. But that made way for Koepka to cruise to the finish line. He taps in a bogey to finish at +1 and win this year's title.
And the celebration continues with thousands of miles away with a wind that's rocking the world literally. Seismic readers in Mexico picked up a small earthquake on the Richter scale. It followed the lone goal by Irving Lozano that lifted his team over the defending champs, Germany. The match sent a surge through the world, making Germany the third defending champion to lose in the opening round. After the mega upset, 5 of the top 6 teams are now winless going into the second round. This includes Argentina and their superstar Lionel Messi playing in the World Cup for the first time. Iceland tied soccer powerhouse 1-1. They denied Messi a game-winning penalty kick down the stretch. Play continues today at 8 a.m. Eastern.
All right, did you see this over the weekend? It's being referred to as a musical couples therapy, a celebration of marriage, a stunning collaboration. Whatever you call it, it is here. After what seems like years of speculation, Jay-Z and Beyonce have released their first joint album, ambushing their fans and the music industry, and making history in the process with a music video that breaks the mold. NBC's Katie Beck has more of what could be the most talked about album this year.
Rumored for years, but now the talk just got real. The first joint album from Beyonce and Jay-Z, the couple making a surprise drop Saturday on Tidal, the music streaming service Jay-Z partly owns.
Beyonce just dropped an album, and I'm freaking out.
A 9-track album called Everything Is Love, and a dazzling new music video shot at the Louvre Museum in Paris, a feat nothing short of artistic. And unbelievable. 2 of the world's biggest superstars managing to film at one of the world's most iconic landmarks without a single leak. The megastars and their dancers upstaging priceless art with modern moves, highlighting black figures in a gallery with primarily white subjects and artists. Sharp lyrics abound, Jay-Z taking aim at everything from the Grammys to the NFL.
I said no to the Super Bowl. You need me, I don't need you. Every night we in the end zone.
Some were bracing for a split after Jay-Z's reported infidelity, the rap mogul opening up about a fight to save their marriage on David Letterman's Netflix show.
We did the hard work of going to therapy, and we love each other.
But music's ultimate power couple now appearing stronger than ever. Katie Beck, NBC News, Los Angeles.
And just so much to take in when it comes to the videos, the music, both of them, just the whole thing.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
Just ahead, a new study on the rising tides from the melting glaciers, and this one may rattle you more than most.
Dove pa? Olè!
Bellissimo! Bravissimo! Bravo!
Dove pa? Olè!
Oh, those are the 3 little kittens in Italy. Firefighters had just the right touch in the rescue kills to save the day. Children playing nearby found the kittens trapped in a narrow plastic pipe. Well, they told their parents, who flagged down emergency workers. It took an hour to lasso the kittens using string and narrower pieces of the pipe, but they got out okay and they were safely returned to their mother.
A new climate study is rattling many, even shocking the very scientists who actually study global warming. After a key finding found the ice melt in Antarctica is melting much faster than first thought, and it could make a significant impact in the years ahead. Ann Thompson has more on the major study and what scientists say we can do to slow down the melting.
Ominous developments at the bottom of the Earth.
Look at that.
The melting of the massive Antarctic ice sheet speeding up, according to a new study, tripling in the past decade, causing sea levels to rise faster today than any time in the past 25 years. The culprit, climate change. Greenhouse gases heating up the water and air when we burn coal, oil, and gas.
A lot of these glaciers have been speeding up in recent times in response to a warmer ocean.
Dr. Eric Rigneau is one of the authors of the study published in this week's Nature. Using satellite surveys, scientists from more than 40 international groups found Antarctica shed 3 trillion tons of ice between 1992 and 2017, adding 0.3 of an inch to sea level rise. Now, that doesn't sound like much, but if the trend continues, Rigneau says we could see 3 feet of sea level rise by the end of the century, reshaping America's coast.
It will be a sort of flooding that's not going to recede, flooding of streets and neighborhoods that's not going to go away once the water evaporates.
Most of the ice loss comes from West Antarctica, where 2 glaciers are in rapid retreat and an ice shelf collapse in the Antarctic Peninsula. Scientists say we can slow down the melting if we move to cleaner energy sources to keep the ice and seas where they belong. Ann Thompson, NBC News, New York.
Right, if that worries you, it's not going to help that Bill's got your hot weather forecast straight ahead. We'll bring it to you when we come back.
Welcome back. It's been very hot throughout May and June throughout much of the middle of the country. Now it has spread throughout much of the Ohio Valley into the Northeast. Today, Richmond 94, Boston 91, Cleveland at 94, Chicago and St. Louis easily into the mid-90s. On Tuesday, the heat gets pushed a little further to the south. Raleigh's going to bake, though, through the Carolinas. In New York City, still warm at 89.
All right, Bill, thank you very much. Still ahead, an update on that deadly crash at the southern border and an incredible and historic weekend at the box office.
A high-speed chase resulted in the death of 5 undocumented immigrants in a Texas. A high-speed chase resulted in the death of 5 undocumented immigrants in a Texas town about 50 miles away from the Mexican border on Sunday. An SUV carrying more than a dozen people spun out of control while fleeing Border Patrol agents in Big Wells. The vehicle was reportedly traveling at a speed of 100 miles an hour when it crashed. Officials say 4 people were pronounced dead at the scene, another died at a local hospital, and several others were wounded. A statement from ICE says the vehicle was one of 3 they attempted to stop, believing a smuggling event was taking place. The other 2 cars were stopped. However, the third continued forward, ultimately resulting in that crash. Border Patrol is investigating.
Police in Washington are investigating a chaotic shooting at a Walmart. A suspect there was shot and killed, and 2 others were hurt during a series of carjackings. Witnesses inside the store say they were in line when suddenly gunfire broke out. Chaos followed as people tried to run out of the store. According to police, the gunman was firing his weapon, trying to jack a car when he was fatally shot by a bystander. 1 victim was airlifted to a hospital. Their condition is unknown. A second was being treated. Officers are looking into 4 other incidents that may be connected.
An urgent manhunt is underway in Illinois for 2 escaped inmates. 3 men broke out of the White County Jail early Saturday morning, seen here just before their jailbreak. Authorities believe they used a pipe from the shower area to break through a hole in a brick wall. 1 inmate, 28-year-old Justin Bray, has been captured. 2 others are still on the run, 61-year-old Johnny Tipton and 24-year-old Zachary Schock, who is awaiting trial on a first-degree murder charge. Police say there is no reason to believe the men are armed, but warn residents they are dangerous.
A lot of you took in the movie or 2 this weekend. It was an incredible one, actually. The sequel to the superhero flick crushed the box office, earning $180 million domestically, making it the best launch for any animated film in history and the 8th biggest opening of all time.
Honey, where's my super suit? Honey,
Okay, that was one fan who saw the film dressed as Frozone, seen quoting a memorable line from the first movie. That video racking up over 10 million views. And the woman of Ocean's 8 took the 2nd spot on the list. It earned around $19.5 million, bringing it to domestic total there to over $79 million. And around out the top 3, the film Tag snagged more than $14 million in its opening weekend. It is the summer season. You know, when it's the summer season, a lot of kids out of school. You're going to have all of those kids and families renting the movies.
And by the way, Tag, no tag backs.
No tag back.
That's the rule.
All right.
I'm Danny Cevallos, in for Philip.
And I'm Frances Rivera. Thanks for watching early today. Your news continues right here on NBC.